If you're a Dolphins fan, this is the place for you. We put out the official Dolphins schedule before the Miami Dolphins Twitter account yesterday. We're on top of all Dolphins news and rumors. If you're a Dolphins fan, hit that big red sub button right now. It is time to break down and make predictions about the Miami Dolphins 2022 schedule. Welcome into Dolphins Today. I'm your host, Will Scott. Appreciate you joining us. We looked at the schedule last night. Now it's time to go game by game and make our way too early predictions about the Dolphins 2022 season. Before we do that, let's look at the schedule. Obviously, a very difficult stretch here to start the season. You're playing 4 teams that are all going to be in playoff contention weeks 1 through 4. Luckily, you start week 5, this next stretch, against a very bad football team in the New York Jets. All 4 of those games right there, weeks 5 through 8, extremely winnable games. In fact, the Dolphins might win all 4. Let's go to this next stretch here. Second half of the season, you start week 9. You start the second half of the season, week 9 against the Bears, and then the schedule starts to get a little bit tougher with the Browns, but then you have the bye week and then the Houston Texans. So basically back-to-back byes for the Dolphins. And then you have weeks 13 through 15 all on the road. This is by far the toughest stretch for the Miami Dolphins, at the 49ers, at the Chargers, at the Bills, and then here's how they finish against 2 pretty good football teams, Packers and Patriots, and then they host the Jets at Hard Rock Stadium to finish the season. So let me ask you, go down in the comments. It's the pinned comment on today's video. What game are you most excited about? When you hear it with an ad break here in a few seconds, go down and let me know what you think. So let's get into my predictions now, looking at all 17 games of the Dolphins season, and we start with a huge matchup in week 1 against the New England Patriots. This game will be at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, and I think the Dolphins, much like last year, will beat the Patriots once again. I have the Dolphins winning 24-17. I think they're going to lead wire to wire and then hang on at the end, handing Mac Jones another L as he falls to 0-3 against the Fins. Doesn't get any easier if you're Miami in week 2 because you have to go to Baltimore, a team that surprisingly did not make the playoffs last season. They're going to be looking to kind of bounce back from that disappointing season, make the playoffs this time around with Lamar Jackson. Big question marks, though, at the wide receiver position, but their defense really solid. I think that it's going to be a close game, but the Dolphins lose 21-20. Their record drops to 1-1, coming back home where they will face the Buffalo Bills in week 3. And the Bills have an interesting start to the season because they play in that opening game against the Super Bowl champ Rams. And then week 2, they have Tennessee on Monday Night Football. So 2 primetime games for the Bills to start the season, which are both going to be very tough. I still think they're going to come into Miami 2-0. And Miami's going to hand them their first loss of the season. Dolphins winning 27-24, and this isn't just a big game because it's a tough test against arguably the best football team in the National Football League, the Bills. But this is going to be a statement game for the Dolphins. They're going to win it in Miami. Tua is going to ball out, and the Dolphins are going to prove themselves as the biggest threats to the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. And then week 4, which concludes a just really, really tough stretch to the season. You're going to Cincinnati, Thursday Night Football, the Dolphins' first of 2 primetime games this season. It's going to be a shootout. You got Tua and Joe Burrow going at it just like they did when they were playing in the SEC. Joe Burrow for LSU, Tua for Bama. And I think Joe Burrow comes out on top, much like he did in 2019. It's going to be a really close game. But look, if the Dolphins get out of that stretch, 2-2, we should be happy about that because that is the toughest stretch for the Dolphins. Well, we'll get into it. They have another tough stretch. One of the more tougher stretches to start the season of any NFL team. We'll say that. Now, let me ask, will Tua start every game this year? Will he stay healthy? Will he prove himself as the franchise quarterback this season? Type your Y for yes or type your in for no. I think he will. I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. Let's get into week 5 now, talking about the Jets matchup. The Jets are a terrible football team. They're never any good, and the Dolphins are going to show that, winning 30-16. X is going to pick off Zach Wilson like 5 times. It's going to be awesome. Winning over there in the Meadowlands to bounce back after the Cincinnati loss and move to 3-2 on the season. Then they come back home to face a decent, maybe mediocre Minnesota team. I really like this matchup for Miami, and I think the Dolphins roll 37-24. Kirk Cousins might put up some points in the end to get the Vikings up in the 20s, but the Dolphins' rushing attack is going to run all over the Vikings defense in this game to move to 4-2 on the season. Moving on to week 7 now, Sunday Night Football, and guess who is on the Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff? Brian Flores, new linebackers coach. So he comes back to Miami, and the Dolphins are going to win this football game, beating Flo 20-16 to move to 5-2 on the season. Their third straight win. I think the Dolphins are going to start 5-2, and if that happens, a lot of people are going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins as a contender. Let's get into week 8. Going to the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. Shout out my friend PJ Clark, works on the Lions social team. So we got a 3-14 team from last year who might have been a little bit better than that record facing the Dolphins. And look, the Dolphins are not going to win every game they are expected to win. Upsets happen. This will be an upset. I have the Dolphins losing streak coming to an end in Detroit. The Lions are a scrappy football team, man. They're not very talented, but they play hard. They have a great coach in Dan Campbell. It's going to be an improved team from last season. They had a great draft. They got Aiden Hutchinson. The Lions will probably be like 2-5. The Dolphins will be 5-2. Lions upset the Dolphins here. I have the Dolphins falling to 5-3. The good news is, though, you play a really bad football team in Chicago on November 6th, the team that finished 6-11 last year. I don't know if Justin Fields is the guy. I have the Dolphins blowing out the Bears in a bounce-back game. It's going to be an important game for the Dolphins if they lose in Detroit. You do not want to lose back-to-back games against pretty bad football teams. Justin Fields throws 3 interceptions, Tua throws 4 touchdowns, and the Dolphins roll in Chi-Town. Then they come home to Miami for this big game. I'm a little bit disappointed this is not a primetime game because you got Deshaun Watson taking on Tua Tagovailoa, and I think that Tua is going to outduel Deshaun Watson in a shootout. 35-30 Dolphins win. There is going to be a lot of offense in this game. It is going to be so much fun to watch. Offensive explosion. If you're a sports bettor, take the over in this game. Cleveland, great offense. Miami, great offense that's really, really fast. I like the Dolphins to win this game, which means they will move to 7-3 on the season. They have the bye in Week 11. Let's move on to Week 12, where they will face the Houston Texans. That record incorrect. They were 4-13 last year, a very bad football team. 1 o'clock Eastern, and the Dolphins are going to rout the Houston Texans. Money Mills might throw a couple interceptions. The Dolphins, I think, going to put up a lot of points against a very, very bad Houston team that legitimately might go 2-15 this year, 1-16, maybe. Here we go to the 49ers game, which is going to be a really big game because it's Mike McDaniel's homecoming game, right? He was on the 49ers coaching staff for a few years, was beloved by his players over there in San Francisco. It's going to be a big game. Both teams expected to be in playoff contention. I have the Dolphins losing 27-24 over in San Francisco. Look, this is going to be a close game. 2 teams that I think are pretty evenly matched coming into this season. It's going to be tough to win over there. Dolphins fall to 8-4 on the season. Then they continue their California road trip in Inglewood against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is going to be a big storyline game. Justin Herbert, who you drafted Tua over him. Now you're facing him. Tua against Herbert, and I think Herbert's going to come out on top 28-16. This Chargers team is just loaded, man. I mean, they've added a lot of talent in free agency as well. So I'm going to have the Chargers winning this game. Dolphins drop back-to-back games. That's okay. You're still 8-5 and in playoff position going to Buffalo. The day and the time yet to be announced. I mean, this is expected to be a pretty big game late in the season. Who knows? They might want to do a Saturday night primetime game in Orchard Park, and I have the Bills coming out on top 31-16. I mean, it's very difficult playing in Buffalo that late in the season and coming out with a win, especially when you're in Miami, not used to playing in tough conditions. So that's going to be the Dolphins' third straight loss, 8-6, and I think a lot of people are going to be hitting the panic button when the Packers come to town. It's going to be a must-win game. If you're 8-6 in the NFL, you're on the cusp, if not barely in the playoff picture. This is going to be a huge game on Christmas against Aaron Rodgers, and the Dolphins are going to make a statement. Winning 34-28, this is going to be one of their biggest wins of the year. This would move them to 9-6 on the year. They're not in the playoff picture before Week 16. They probably are after Week 16 with a 9-6 record. They're going to put up a lot of points against a good Packers defense. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and we're going to get a Christmas present with the win over the Packers. That moves us to Week 17. Big matchup in Foxborough. Two teams that are expected to be right there with the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. Two teams that should be in the playoff picture. I have the Dolphins, though, losing in Foxborough 24-19. It's going to be a close game, right? It's going to be a really close game. But the Patriots are a team that we did it last year, right? Beating them twice. It's going to be tough to do that again. I have the Patriots coming out on top in Foxborough. That moves us to Week 18. So you're 10-6 coming in to Week 18. You're probably going to be guaranteed a playoff spot at that point. If you're 10-7, you're likely going to make the playoffs. Good news for the Dolphins. They're going to be 11-6. Rolling over the Jets once again. This is a guaranteed Week 18 win. 17th game of the season. Guaranteed win. The Jets are a terrible football team. So I have the Dolphins going 11-6 in 2022. When you look at this schedule, it's very tough at the beginning of the season. You have a stretch in the middle of the season that's relatively easy, and then you have another tough stretch later in the season, having to play 3 straight road games, which if the Dolphins can go 1-2 in those 3 games, I would take it. But when you look at this team, this is a playoff team. What they've done in the offseason, adding Tyreek Hill, adding Connor Williams, Terron Armstead, Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel, Chase Edmonds, that was a team that went 9-8 last year that just added all that talent with the head coach Mike McDaniel, who this team is already rallying around, a guy that's already changed the culture in Miami. The Dolphins almost made the playoffs last year. They got better. I think their win total goes up by 2 all the way to 11 wins. They could go anywhere from, I'd say, 9-8 to maybe even 13-5. So I'm going to put them right in the middle there. An 11-6 season for the Dolphins. Good enough to make a wild card spot in the AFC. Will the Dolphins make the playoffs? Type 1 for yes or type 2 for no down in the comments section. This has been Will Scott. Have a great weekend.